remember I used to have these nightmares when I was really young, and it would just be, I would I'd fall asleep, and then I would just hear these like drums like beating, and they would get sequentially louder, and they would slowly increase in volume, and it would just be me like enveloped literally like in darkness, and I would hear these drums like beating louder and louder. I often think of depression like a shadow, right? And so there's, I can think of like the happiest moments of my life, like being in like 5th grade and like blowing out birthday cake candles, but then there's still this like shadow like hanging over my head, and I can like feel its presence. I remember even like times where I'd be doing like the things that I love to do the most, like playing soccer, hanging out with my friends. And I can remember these really happy and vivid and beautiful memories, and yet there was still like this, seemed like no matter what I did, I couldn't like quite escape the shadow. I just felt alone, and I felt isolated, and I was like, as far as I knew, I was the only person in the entire world who had depression or had these issues. So it didn't feel like something I could talk about. It was me enveloped in this darkness, and no one else could see me, and I couldn't see anyone else. I first got into music, and I think that was my first type of therapy. I was able to express this darkness onto the page. When I was able to put these words onto a page, it kind of took away some of the power of the shadow. So, for example, when I first started writing music, it felt like it was the first time I'd like taken a match out and I'd like struck it on a box. It was like I illuminated a little bit of truth in my life, and it started to take away from the shadow. And I started realizing that, I wasn't alone in this black void, but that there were other people who also dealt with depression, and people who'd overcome depression and were living happy lives. I think depression is a distortion of the truth, and I think it's ultimately it's lies that we tell ourselves, or that the world tells us. Now, I think of depression as like sure, there's still like a shadow there, except the difference is that now I have this like giant like flamethrower, and so it's like yeah, the depression's always there, but now I like always have a way to combat it because I have this giant flamethrower in my